Emotionally, it was very depressing. I would feel very lonely. A lot of therapists in the US are very pill focused. So the therapist that I went to just wanted to pop me full of pills, which, yeah, maybe it was the right decision on their part. But for me, I somehow strongly felt inside that this is not a long term solution. And like, it just didn't feel right, just taking pills. When I got the number from this girl, I was like, and oh yeah, it's just a number. And obviously, I texted her. I didn't really expect her to reply because most of the numbers that I got before, it was just like no replies. But she replied. And she replied enthusiastically, and she was actually engaging with me in the conversation. And I was really surprised. I texted her a little bit here and there. I flirted with her on a text. And I asked her out. And then she took a little bit of time to decide, but then eventually she agreed for a date. And yeah, I had my first date to cold approach, and I was mind boggled, like surprised. I never thought that this would be possible.
All right, Kieran, thanks for joining. Appreciate you doing this call. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself, where you're from, your backgrounds?
Yeah, so I'm a software engineer, and I've been living in the US for around 4.5 years. And I moved here from India, yeah, around 4.5 years ago.
When we initially spoke, you were trying a lot of therapy and you were, I guess it was getting sort of mixed results. And I think it's maybe interesting for a lot of other guys who are not the most outgoing and they're not getting the best results. They also might try therapy. What was your experience and how did you then transition from, okay, I'm rather than trying therapy, let me actually go and do dating coaching?
Yeah, so there were a couple of factors involved in this decision. I'm not against therapy, and I'm not saying therapy doesn't work. It's been medically researched and scientifically proven to work. But whether therapy works or not depends a lot on you finding the right therapist. And that is difficult and may take time, like the right therapist for you. Secondly, a lot of therapists in the US are very pill focused. So the therapist that I went to just wanted to pop me full of pills, which, yeah, maybe it was the right decision on their part. But for me, I somehow strongly felt inside that this is not a long term solution. And like, it just didn't feel right, just taking pills. And I did some research about these pills, like the most common pills that therapists prescribe. And they don't really solve your problem. They kind of just suppress your emotions so that you can continue, living life as you are, which is really not a solution. So, yeah, uh, a heads up to anyone who's going to pop pills, please be careful of that. And also, the second thing about therapy was that it, even though it probably might have helped or it did help a little bit, it did not directly apply to the problem that I was facing. That is my lack of results in this area. So I thought that therapy is like, probably it would take a couple of years before I actually felt good about myself inside and fixed all my inner issues, and then maybe then I would have to start basically the feedback loop was too long. So I decided, go for a more direct solution.
You weren't sure that therapy would solve your problem. So how would you describe your actual problem? Because there's many different ways to describe it. How would you describe your initial problem that made you want to look for a solution?
So my problem was complete lack of results in dating. Uh, I tried apps, I tried meetups, I tried uh, social circle. I was in college for a few years. I tried things there. That's basically social circle, but never got any satisfactory results. So that was problem number one. And if I would drill down into that problem, I would say the biggest problem that I would say the reason why none of these avenues worked for me was a massive anxiety and massive social anxiety. Also, yeah, lack of dating skills in general, like how to be more emotional, how to have emotional conversation, not logical. I was very logical in my conversations. How to flirt, how to, uh, what to do, what to say.
It is quite difficult when you're not getting the results in this area. As much as you are comfortable sharing, what were the effects that you were having emotionally as a result of having the lack of results in this area?
I used to wake up each morning wondering, and this was something that was going on for years, right? It's not a 1 day, 1 month, 1 week thing. For years, I would wake up each morning and wonder, what am I going to do? It's the same problem every single day. I used to have calls with some of my other friends who were also in the same position. And then I realized, like, back in like mid 2023, I was having this call with my friend, and we had a 2 hour long discussion about, okay, we're going to do something. We're going to make some progress in this area. And now it's 2025, mid 2025, and then think early 2025, I call up the same friend and we had the same 2 hour conversation. And I realized it's been like 2 years and we're still having the same conversation. There's nothing has changed, right? So, yeah, emotionally, it was very depressing. I would feel very lonely. I would go out on the street and look at couples walking around, and I would wonder, okay, when am I going to experience this? What's wrong with me? Then that caused a lot of self doubt and a lot of self esteem issues, which also like negative emotions. And overall, emotionally, it was just a very hard process.
How did you discover cold approach?
I discovered Corner approach by, the first thing that everyone in this generation does when they have a problem is they go to Google and try to find a solution. Then Google had a lot of websites which give like generic dating advice, etc., etc. Some of it was good, some of it was okay. Like it was mixed advice, but yeah, like a lot of it was very general stuff like dress well, be social, be confident, etc. But dress well and be confident are like very generic pieces of advice. It's not like, I know like everyone knows this, but how exactly do you go about it, and what are the concrete steps you take, etc.
Most of the websites on that you I found on Google had no concrete information. And then I went down the rabbit hole, and then probably somewhere on Reddit I found this couple of blogs talking about how cold approach is a is it's like this. It's one of the paths you can use to meet women, and
Along with meeting women, what most, I would say, attracted to me to cold approach is that it was more of like this character building exercise. And along with like meeting women, you also had this clear defined path of building your dating skills along the way, which was the problem, like the root problem, like I was struggling with and I've been trying to fix for many years, because I knew after all of these years, like interacting with women and etc., me getting a girlfriend was not a solution, because she could leave me at any time. The relationship could fizzle out. It could turn toxic, and it could be just pure luck, right? You could get a girlfriend by just pure luck. But I realized that I did not have the skill set to reproduce this. And I saw Hold Approach as a path to acquire this skill set. So that's where I got really interested in it.
And what brought you to my program?
I realized that eventually at some point that to get better in anything in life, like you need coaching. Like everyone has coaching for different avenues of what they want to get better at. So some people are just naturally gifted and they can do some things themselves. But even like the top, even Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, they're star football players, but also have coaches. Similarly, all top sports athletes and even top musicians go to school, and even to become a doctor, like you can't just become a doctor like straight out of the on by yourself, right? You need to go to like a couple of years of school and then residency and all to become a doctor all the way along. Like you have mentors, guides, professors teaching you something. I just realized that this is something that I was not naturally gifted at, but it was very important to the quality of my life. Extremely important. In fact, it is the dominating factor. Eventually, if you look at it long term, if you think about things like marriage and relationships, it's the dominating factor for the quality of life. And I realized I need to get better at it, but I wasn't getting better at it like by myself, so I needed someone to help me.
So when we had the first session and you were going out in the streets and talking to women, it was, yeah, just walk me through the emotions and the kind of roller coaster that you went through.
Yeah. So the first time I did it, the first time I could not do it. I just could not do it. And because you remember how it was. So then Gus was like, yeah, you don't have to do a natural approach. Let's get started with the directions. And even that was like really hard for me. I remember the stats of my first week. I think I used to go out daily and get like probably 2 or 3 directions a day. And that's all I could do. And then my brain would like burn out. I could not do that. I think a big yeah, I started off with directions, and I think the first call Gus was egging me on. Now looking back, it's so hilarious, right? Gus was egging me on. He's like, "Yeah, you can go to that person, go to that person, just ask for directions, ask for a landmark." And I think the first 1 or 2 weeks, or maybe even more than that, it was just me and directions, and I was petrified. I was scared. I was. It was like my heart was gonna explode. And this was just all in directions. But Gus was like really, really encouraging, and he gave me some amazing advice, and he was like really there for me the whole way. So yeah, it was a roller coaster of emotions. Sure.
I think with a lot of guys is they don't believe in the first they can do it, but then they do a little bit, they do a little bit, and then it's like step by step, it's becoming better. Now, kind of fast forward to the first date that you got through Cold Approach. Tell us what happened and how did you feel after you got your first date in the Cold Approach?
Yeah. So before I got my first date, I had gotten a lot of Instagrams and few numbers from girls through approaching, but most of them were just flakes. They would not reply. And that's something I'm actively working on to improve, to reduce the flake count. So I was kind of like, when I got the number from this girl, I was like, oh yeah, it's just a number. And obviously I texted her. I didn't really expect her to reply because most of the numbers that I got before, it was just like no replies. But she replied. And she replied enthusiastically, and she was actually engaging with me in the conversation. And I was really surprised. So then, yeah, I texted her like here, a little bit here and there. I flirted with her on a text, and I asked her out. And then she took a little bit of time to decide, but then eventually she agreed for a date. And yeah, I had my first date to Cold Approach, and I was mind boggled, like surprised. I never thought that this, first of all, I never thought that this would be possible. And then,
And secondly, I never thought that me, would be able to do something like this.
Yeah, it's the mind blowing reaction. I think for a lot of guys, it's just like you described. But once you do it, you realize that it's possible for you. And yeah, I'm super happy that you had this experience because if you can get the first one, then you start believing that you can actually do it. And then the second one and third one, it's still hard, but you already have that first one in the pocket, and then everything else becomes easy or easier, not easy. And over the few months that we've been working together, what have you found the most useful out of everything we've done? What has been the most helpful for you on this journey?
so a lot of things have been really helpful. I think that the very specific advices and the examples that you gave me, like Gus you're almost like a life coach or like a therapist in a way from these sessions where I have a lot of self-esteem issues and negative beliefs, I think, and you broke those down you dissected them very logically, and then you showed me that, oh, this is not true. And you gave me a very, you're an expert at reframing. You gave me a perspective on my issues and my situation that I had never thought of before. Like some of those things I thought of before, like they're obvious, like the things that you said that, oh, I should be grateful for being in the US in the first place. With yeah, I was like, yeah, this is something I thought about before. But then a lot of the other analogies, like the Fight Club analogy, and the other reframes that you gave me about my situation were very insightful. And this is something I'd never got from Google. And I never managed to think of these myself either. So that was really useful. And I think the second thing was the massive decrease in anxiety, and slowly and steadily the increase in confidence in myself. Then yeah, I can do something and I can do this. And yeah, I think these were the two most useful.
You gave me one of the best compliments that I've ever gotten. I should be a therapist. That was good to hear. So That's still one of the best compliments that I've ever gotten. And yeah, I'm super happy that it's been helpful for you, and you've improved your confidence. You've gone dates. So my last classic question is: imagine there's a guy just like you from India in the US, a lot of anxiety, no dating life, very little belief in himself, a lot of social anxiety, and he's wondering what to do about his dating life, and he's losing hope. He maybe has a lot of limiting beliefs around his race, that, oh, women don't like me because I'm Indian, or I'm just maybe not meant to do this, and I'm just too shy, introverted. What would you tell that person?
So I would tell that person that the same reasoning that made me work with Gus is that, at least in India, a lot of focus is on career and money. Like the India culture is like that, and that's what I've seen with most Indians. We focus a lot on career and money, and this is not just for Indians. Obviously, it's for anyone else as well. But you got to realize that after a certain amount of money is made, the dominating factor for your life happiness is your relationships. And if you're like, even if you're like a millionaire, but your relationship, the success that you have at relationships, and this is just not with women, right? Gold Approach is like, it's a very general skill building area where the skills that you build from this area will spill over to other areas of your life too. And that's another attribute of Gold Approach that makes it so lucrative. So it will spill over to your career, your work relationships, your relationships with your partners, your relationships with your friends, your children in the future, everything. So it's just something that will give you the skills, confidence to make your relationships all over your life better. And that in the end is going to be the dominating factor in your life satisfaction and happiness. So I don't think there's any better reason than this.
And what if that person agrees with you that it's important, but he thinks that it's not possible for him because of his upbringing, race, personality, etc.?
I'd say just schedule a call with Gus, and he'll walk you through these things, and he can break them down better than I can.
Okay, I like that. That's a sneaky ad. Well, Kieran, thanks a lot for doing this. It's been fun working with you. I know it's sometimes been very, very tough, but I'm happy that you're working on this and you're improving and already gone dates. Just the fact that you took that chance and bet on yourself, I'm very proud of that. And as I've always told you, if you keep going and you keep putting in the effort, you will get the dating life of your dreams.